The story begins by showing an Asian man named Kung, who has just arrived at the airport and is picked up by his uncle, Bill. When they got home, Kung saw old photos of his father. Kung also tried to practice with the wooden doll there. Not long after Kung's training action was applauded by a little boy named Danny. His uncle introduced him to Kung, but since Danny had to go to school, they couldn't stay long and had to take Danny to the school bus. Before leaving, Kung gave Danny a video game of his own. Kung was then invited to Bill's convenience store, which was being renovated. While they were chatting, a client of Bill's came in and introduced him to a woman, Elena. They didn't linger too long and immediately began negotiating in the room.
Wife wants to buy a ranch after the wedding.
Okay, then we have a deal.
When they were done, Bill invited his client to his wedding the following afternoon. Then came Bill's friend Steven. It turned out that Bill had rented a luxury car to use at his wedding. There, Steven asked Bill to take care of his rented car. Then, at night, near Bill's apartment, two groups of motorcycle gangs were seen making a scene at the place. Kung spontaneously woke up from his sleep and saw what was happening outside. It turned out that the motorcycle gangs would hold a wild racing match in that place. One of the gangs was headed by a man named Tony. Tony was going to bet on his girlfriend Nancy, and the race began. Because his uncle's rental car was in the middle, Tony jumped down and blocked Nancy's motorcycle, causing her to lose the race. And not long after that, the police came to chase them all. The next day came the day of Uncle Kung's organized wedding. There were many guests present, including Elena. Kung approached her and introduced himself. After that, Kung offered to help Elena oversee her shop, and Elena agreed. On Kung's first day of work, Tony's motorcycle gang came to their shop while the two were talking in Elena's office. Elena and Kung saw one of Tony's gang members, Angelo, steal a box of candy and open a drink without paying for it. Elena then ventured out and confronted them. They weren't afraid of her, of course, and were going to beat her up. Luckily, Kung was there in time, and a fight broke out between them.
I'm sorry. You alright? Did they scare you?
After the store closed, Kung returned to his apartment on foot in the evening. On his way home, Kung saw a woman who was asking for help because she was about to be kidnapped by some men. Kung, who couldn't bear to see her, quickly helped her, but it turned out that this was all a trap from the motorcycle gang. Kung tried to fight back, but because there were too many motorcycle gangs, Kung was forced to run away. Finally, Kung couldn't escape because he was cornered at a dead end. Angelo wanted to shoot him, but Tony held him back, and finally, they beat Kung with a baseball game by hitting glass bottles at Kung. Kung was seen helpless and had to lie unconscious on the ground. Meanwhile, Danny was seen playing games. It turned out he was Nancy's younger brother. Nancy was suddenly surprised by the arrival of someone moaning in pain. It turned out to be Kung.
It's Kung!
Nancy immediately helped Kung, who had been injured by a broken shard. The next day, Kung, who was already awake, was surprised to see that Nancy had treated all his wounds. Even though Nancy had made Kung breakfast, Kung had to immediately rush away to continue his work. While he was walking, Tony and his men confronted and chased Kung. They continued to chase Kung until they entered the parking lot. There, Tony's group was confused because Kung had suddenly disappeared. Unfortunately, one of the motorcycle gang members saw Kung hiding in a pile of balloons. The motorcycle gang members pushed the truck until it fell under the building. Because there was no other way, Kung finally dared to jump to the next building. A few days later, near Nancy's apartment, two gangster groups were seen making diamond transactions.
F color.
I want the diamonds now.
At the same time, Tony and some of his members had just arrived to take Nancy back to her apartment.
Did I say something wrong?
Then suddenly, one of the cars from the two groups had an accident, and the person in the car was dying. Angelo then took advantage of the opportunity to seize the group's valuables.
I'll take.
But not long after, another group came and immediately shot at Angelo and even chased him.
Let's go.
It turns out that Angelo stole a diamond worth $7 million. Meanwhile, Cum tries to save Danny, rushes away, and leaves Danny's wheelchair. Angelo, currently cornered and unable to move, finally comes up with an idea to hide the diamond in Danny's wheelchair cushion.
Please don't shoot. Don't shoot.
It wasn't long before Angelo was caught by the police, and some of the gunmen were also caught by the police. After it was safe, Kung Ben took Danny's wheelchair and immediately brought Danny back home. While at Danny's house, Kung finally met Danny's sister, Nancy. There, Nancy apologized to Kung for what she had done.
Thank you.
The scene moves to the police station, where Angelo and the gunmen are being interrogated by the police. Not long after that, they were released because there was insufficient evidence to hold them back. At night, Angelo returned to the place where he kept the diamonds, but he couldn't go inside because the gunmen were already in the building. When Kung was about to leave the building, he saw some men looking for something. One of the men said they were the FBI looking for their stolen items. The man gave Kung a business card and told him to contact him if he got any information about the stolen item. In the evening, Kung went to a bar and met Nancy, who worked as a dancer there. It turned out that Nancy liked Kung and invited him to have a drink together. Tony, who heard this, was furious and immediately ordered his members to chase the two of them. The next morning, Tony and his group break into Elena's shop to look for Kung.
Bitch, if you don't tell me right now, they'll keep tearing this place up.
But suddenly, a limousine car came and kidnapped two of Tony's members. Meanwhile, Kung is seen walking with Danny and Nancy in the park. From a distance, Angelo is seen following the three of them while waiting to take Danny's wheelchair cushion. Finally, the opportunity arrived, and Angelo immediately took the wheelchair cushion. After that, Kung returned to Elena's shop and was surprised to see that her shop had been destroyed. Kung then asked Elena who had done all this. Elena replied that it was Tony and his group.
And why I thought I could depend on...
Kung was furious and immediately went to Tony's place. When they arrived at Tony's headquarters, Kung immediately invited Tony to a one-on-one duel with his bare hands. Tony agreed. The fight began. But it turns out that Kung is better in terms of empty hands and can beat Tony. His members, who did not accept Tony's defeat, then ganged up on Kung. After beating Tony's group members one by one, Tony finally gave up and assumed that Kung had won. But not long after, they were all surprised by their friend who came home battered and carrying a big black plastic bag. It turned out that he was the one who was kidnapped by the person in the limousine car, and what he was carrying in the big plastic bag was the corpse of his friend who was kidnapped with him earlier. Tony then asked what happened. His friend replied that the limousines were looking for the goods Angelo had stolen. After learning this, Kung, Tony, and Nancy worked together to find Angelo. Kung also told Tony that the people looking for Angelo were members of the FBI. After that, Kung contacted the FBI to hand over Angelo, who had been caught. When they arrived at Angelo's place, he screamed in fear and wanted to escape because they were not FBI but mafia members. The terrified Angelo told them that the diamond was in Danny's wheelchair. Then Kung and the mobsters rushed to Danny's house and searched for the diamond. But after searching Danny's cushion, the diamond was nowhere to be found. Kung, who saw Danny's cushion under the table, said he knew where the diamond was. While crawling, Kung got an idea to trick and beat them back. Long story short, Kung managed to defeat the mobsters. Then Kung went to Elena's shop and told her everything that had happened.
I need them for ransom.
A few hours later, the mafia boss contacted Kung and told him to come to the store because he was going to tear it down. Kung thought the threat was just a bluff, but sure enough, Kung saw an iron chain tied to some of the store's poles. And in an instant, the mobsters tore down Elena's shop. The mob boss then called him back and threatened him that if he didn't hand over the diamonds within an hour, all of Kung's friends would be killed. Kung had no other way but to contact the police and organize a strategy to fight the mafia. It was known that the mafia had been targeted by the police for some time, but they had yet to catch them. When Kung arrived at the negotiation, he said he wanted to meet with their boss. But he had the misfortune of mentioning the mafia boss's nickname. Of course, this shocked them because only the police knew the identity of their boss. The mafia member then contacted his boss.
We got a call.
Maybe he went to the cops.
After that, Kung was invited to meet his big boss. They took Kung to a quiet place and searched him. And sure enough, they found a listening device in Kung's hair. The mafia member called his boss and told him he had found the listening device. His boss told him to finish him immediately and not bother with the diamonds. Realizing he was in danger, Kung immediately fought back and escaped. However, his attempt failed when one of the mobsters spotted Kung in the gap of the container. As they were about to finish him off, the police suddenly arrived and surrounded the place. Thanks to the police presence, Kung's life was saved. The mafia members then escaped by taking the hovercraft by force. They then used the hovercraft and caused chaos in the city. The policeman who saw it could not stop the mafia action. Then Kung, who saw a sword in the museum and a Ferrari car, immediately drove it towards the hovercraft. Kung asked where his friends were after successfully stopping the hovercraft and capturing the mafia members.
I'll tell you! Just...
After successfully rescuing his friends, this time, Kung and the police will take revenge to catch the big boss of the mafia. Kung then boarded the repaired hovercraft and would finish off the mobsters by running over them mercilessly.